In this video, we're going to be taking a look at applying volume formulas, and I've touched on this in previous videos, how you multiply the length times the width times the height. Now we're going to use that as a formula to find volume. Now the essential question that we're going to be focusing in on is how can you use a formula to find the volume of a rectangular prism. So let's check this out. Okay, I want you to turn to page 479 in your math books. Okay, and we're going to look at unlocking this problem. Now before we go into this, it is important to understand that volume has a shape will have the same dimension, or a figure will have the same dimension of volume, even though it's divided up into cubic units or just a regular shape. Now we've talked about cubic units and we've seen shapes like this one on the left, and today we're going to be looking more at just regular shapes and finding the volume. But even though this has length of, or width of, length and width of 4 inches and a height of 3 inches, this shape has the same. Even though it's not divided up into cubic units, the volume still is the same. So it is important to understand that from the beginning here. Okay, now you can use a formula to find the volume of a rectangular prism, and it is multiplying the length times the width times the height. Okay, so what we do for that formula, volume is L for the length, W for the width, H for the height. Okay, pretty simple there. Okay, now as far as finding the length of this figure, we want to take a look at the length. We can see there is 7 inches. Okay, the width, we've talked about this before, is 5 inches. And then the height, we can see there, is 3 inches. So we have the length, width, and the height. Okay, now the next step, what we would do is we would multiply the length and the width and the height by, the length and the width first of all by itself. Okay, so the length is 7, width is 5. That gives us the answer of 35. So 7 times 5 is 35. Then after we do that, we multiply the length and width by the height, which is 3. You can see the height, which is right there, which is 3, equals 105. So the volume of Mike's DVD box is 105 cubic inches. Okay, we're going to take a look at this problem to unlock it. Okay, so we have Emilio's family has a sandcastle kit. The kit includes molds for several solid figures that can be used to make sandcastles. One of the molds is a rectangular prism like the one shown at the right. How much sand will it take to fill the mold? So we need to figure out the volume of this sandcastle kit here. Okay, or the mold here. Now it is important to understand, okay, we've learned one formula for finding the volume that we just did, length times the width times the height. Okay, V equals L times W times H. You can also use another formula, volume is the base area. Okay, that's when you find the length and the width. We even did that on a previous video, times the height. Okay, so V equals B times H, base area times the height. Okay, so let's take a look at this problem. Alright, so we can see that the volume is the length and the width times the height. Okay, 5 times 4, that's what we're gonna write in right here. So V equals base area times height. 5 times 4, that's going to give us our base area. Okay, times our height, which we can see is 8. Okay, so the first step is multiplying to figure out the base area, 5 times 4, the length and the width, and that's going to give us 20. We can multiply that by 8. Okay, so volume equals, we have 20 times 8, that's going to give us 160. Okay, so it will take 160 cubic inches of sand to fill the rectangular prism mold. Now let's take a look at some other problems here. Okay, let me get rid of everything that's on my screen. Alright, so we're going to find the volume of this figure. So finding the volume even just with the regular length times width times height, we have the length of 7 feet, width of 4 feet. and then the height of 5 feet. Now remember, with volume, that's what makes it different. That gives it that third dimension is the height. Finding area is length times width, but that third dimension of height gives us the volume. Okay, so we're going to multiply 7 times 4. That's actually going to give us the base area equaling 28. Then we have 28 times 5. We can multiply 28 times 5, and that's going to give us 140 cubic feet. So we're multiplying the length times the width times the height. Let's take a look at one more together here. Okay, we can even figure out an unknown measurement here, okay, which could be a little tricky. We're going to multiply, it says 60 equals something times something times something. Okay, so we need to figure out what the height is here. Okay, a little bit different than just giving us all the measurements. So we can easily see that 5 times 4, okay, that's going to give us the length and width, the base area, but we need to figure out 5 times 4 times what number will actually give us 60. Okay, so we know that 5 times 4, that's going to give us 20. Okay. All right, now what we could do, we could even take the volume and divide it by that base area of 20. Okay, and that'll actually give us the height, which is 3. Okay, so 20 times 3 would actually give us 60. Okay, so we can see that the unknown measurement is actually 3 centimeters. Now, it's not cubic centimeters because we're just trying to figure out the height of our figure. Okay, so we are going to find the volume of these two figures, and this is how I want you to write down the volume, or finding volume. It's always important to write down the formula first. So we have volume equals length times the width times the height. Okay, then from here we're going to plug our numbers in. Volume equals, okay, the length is 2 feet, width is 4 feet, and then the height is 5 feet. Okay, then what we're going to do is multiply, find that base area. So 2 times 4 is going to give us the base area is going to be 8. Then we're going to multiply that by the height. Okay, then we know 8 times 5, that's actually going to give us our answer of 40 feet. Remember, with height, with volume, you always have to, we're always dealing with cubic units. Okay, so 40 feet cubed. Okay, let's take a look at our next figure here. We're going to write down our formula. We're just going to keep writing that down for every time because that will really help us remember the formula. Length times the width times the height. Remember, height is that third dimension of our figures that will help us find the volume. Okay, so the volume, the measurements we want to include, length times the width. We have 4. Here's my length. We look at our width, which would be 4 centimeters as well. And then our height, giving us that third dimension, will be 9 centimeters. Okay, so we have 4 times 4 times 9. My first step is multiplying my two numbers together. That's going to give me 16. Then we're going to multiply that 16 times 9. And that is going to give me 144 centimeters cubed. Okay, very important. Write down your formula, plug in the numbers from the formula, then you can multiply them, giving yourself volume. Now what I want you to do is work this problem out all by yourself. When you press play, I will have the answer for you. Okay, so you can see the answer here, 216 inches cubed. Okay, multiplied length times the width times the height. 6 times 6 times 6 gave us 216. Okay, I want you to work this problem out all by yourself. When you press play, I will have the answer for you. Okay, so the answer to this problem, we multiplied the length times the width, giving us 60, then times 4, give us 240 centimeters cubed. Okay, and it's important to have the correct label there. 240 centimeters cubed. Now I want you to pause the video, work this problem out all by yourself. When you press play, I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, the answer for this problem, okay, multiplied 14 times 6, giving us 84. So 84 times 12 gave us 1,008 inches cubed. Okay, let's take a look at this problem-solving problem together. It says the Jade Restaurant has a large aquarium on display in its lobby. The base of the aquarium is 5 feet by 2 feet. The height of the aquarium is 4 feet. How many cubic feet of water are needed to completely fill the aquarium? Okay, so we can take a look at the volume. We just need to find the volume for this. Okay, we can have the length times the width times the height. Okay, so right away the volume, that's the formula for volume. Now they gave us the base of the aquarium is 5 feet by 2 feet. So they're giving us the base area. So we can multiply to find volume. 5 times 2 is going to give us that base area. And then the height is going to be 4. Okay, so we have 5 times 2 is going to give us 10. I'm going to multiply that by 4. Okay, and that's going to give us 40 cubic feet. 40 feet cubed. We can't even write it that way. Now, even though it is not on my screen, I do want you to complete questions 7 and 8. Okay, I want to find the unknown measurement, and when you press play, I will have the answers for you. So pause the video now and complete number 7 and 8 on page 481. Okay, now the answers for 7 and 8, even though it's not on my screen, you should have 10 feet for number 7 is the unknown measurement, and also 10 centimeters for number 8. So double check your answers and make sure they match mine. So 10 for both of those. Okay, we have our essential question. How can you use a formula to find the volume of a rectangular prism? I know the dimensions of the rectangular prism. If you know the dimensions of the rectangular prism, you can use those dimensions in the formula. Volume equals base times height, or volume equals length times width times height, to find its volume quickly and efficiently. And we write the volume using cubic units. So this is how you apply volume formulas to find volume of a figure, of a rectangular prism. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.